No new scandals or scandal accusations to report for New Jersey Governor Chris Christie this weekend. That's the headline, and that's pretty much the good news in Christie camp tonight. The bad news, those twin investigatory committees being run by the state assembly and the state senate have merged into one super investigatory committee. This is the U.S. Attorney investigation continues as well. And while all of this is being focused on the lane closures at the George Washington Bridge last September, they may not stay so narrowly focused. For more on the legislative investigations and the political headaches all this is creating for Republicans in New Jersey, I spoke with Alfred Doblin. He is the editor of the Record's editorial page just a little bit earlier. Alfred, the joint investigative panel, the Senate and the Assembly meeting today for the first time. Now, there had been some concern the Democrats might overplay their hands on this investigation politically. Too many people trying to get into the spotlight, too disorganized. Should we take this this joint panel as a sign that Democrats are starting to get their act together on this?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think it's a smart move. From an investigative point of view, I think one legislative body makes more sense between both chambers. And I think from a political standpoint, the Democrats look like they're trying to get at the truth rather than they're also trying to get at themselves in terms of jockeying for position. So it's a smart move.
Towards that end, the panel's charge, their goal is to investigate abuse of powers. That's a pretty wide net to be casting and could theoretically open them up to the claim that this might be something of a political witch hunt.
Well, you know, I'm sure there will be that claim out there, and they have to be careful in terms of how they go. But I mean, the basic presumption that people are working on now with the lane closures at the George Washington Bridge is that it does appear to be an abuse of power. Abuse of power by whom and for what reasons we don't really know. But I think that's probably the right phrase for this particular net.
That would also, though, incorporate the possibility of investigating Hoboken or claims by other mayors that the governor's office was leaning on them too heavily?
Well, I think it could. I think when you listen to Assemblyman Wisniewski, I think he's sounding a little cautious about, we could go anywhere, but I think he's aware that they need to be careful where they go, that they seem focused. They're also stay focused on issues that there really may be a paper trail, because at this point, as we saw with Mr. Wildstein, the odds are that a lot of these folks are going to take the fifth when they're appearing before a legislative committee because the U.S. Attorney is investigating. So I think what they're really hoping is to get documents, and I don't think there are any documents from what we've heard about the case with the Mayor Zimmer in Hoboken other than her journal entries. So my guess is the focus is still going to be tighter on what happened at the bridge than anywhere else. But they could go anywhere. I mean, this is New Jersey. They could go anywhere.
This is New Jersey. Republicans have been holding their tongues for the most part thus far, but we're starting to hear complaints that they're shut out of the process from this investigative committee. They're also pushing for a 90-day limit for the panel to issue its findings. First of all, is 90 days going to happen, or are Democrats going to extend this as long as they think is necessary? And is the argument that they're shut out of the process likely to resonate?
Well, I think to the second part, I don't know if they're shut out of the process. The editorial board of the Record met with the Senate President Steve Sweeney last week, and I got the sense from him that he would have, I think, preferred one more Republican senator as part of that legislative body, that joint commission, where it still would have been more Democrats, because Democrats clearly control both chambers, so they would control those committees, but there would appear to be a little bit more Republican representation. So I think that will keep them a little bit in check. I don't think the 90-day. I don't know how the 90 days will work. There's a point where the public is going to get tired of this unless there's a bombshell every day coming out of the committee. So 90 days might not be a bad time frame, but you keep in mind that there's also a U.S. Attorney's investigation. There's an Inspector General investigating at the Port Authority. There's going to be multiple groups of legislative bodies, criminal investigations. There's going to be a lot of looking into this. So 90 days, whether the legislature holds to that or not, I think this isn't going to go away that quickly. So I think it's unrealistic to expect that in 3 months this whole situation now will have ended. And
Alfred, the New Jersey GOP is meeting tonight from the, I guess, terrible timing award of the year so far, on their back heels with the scandal going on with Governor Christie. No candidates for the Senate race against Cory Booker this fall yet, and no chairman. They lost their likely incoming chairman as part of the scandal fallout. How badly is this scandal hurting the state GOP down the line, when it comes to other races below the governor's office or below statewide?
Well, I should remind you what you described, if you put in the word Democrat, would sound like exactly where the Democratic Party was last year when they really couldn't find someone that they wanted to run for governor, and there was a war within the Democratic Party as to who the state chairman was going to be, in which the Barbara Buono lost the person that she wanted. So, things change. This is not a good time, clearly, for the GOP, but I think even if things had turned out differently, I mean, Cory Booker would be a very hard person to beat in November. Not impossible, but he's a very popular candidate. He's a very charismatic guy. It'd be as hard to find somebody to run against Booker as it would have been to find somebody to run Christie, a year ago. But I would just say, remember the Democrats last year. Look where they are now. Neither party has very deep benches once you get past, one or two folks. So it's a setback, but, things change.
New Jersey politics, as always. Stay tuned and tune in tomorrow. Alfred Doblin, editorial page editor at The Record. Alfred, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Up next, he spent 14 years as a lineman in the NFL, but after just 4 in Congress, this Jersey lawmaker is calling it quits. John Runyon is angry, especially at his own party. We'll get into that next on RFL.